Hello and welcome once again to Phoenix Racing Club, where we're going to endure a lot of tight, narrow course racing this weekend as we navigate Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the third weekend of Phoenix World Championship. It is not just another race in Phoenix Racing Club. Today is the third anniversary of the league. Happy birthday to us, and to celebrate such occasion, I am joined in the commentary box by our tech guru, the co-owner of the league, Psychedelics. Hello, Psych.
Hello and good evening, everyone.
Alright, so he's gonna help me commentate today on this track, mostly because I am struggling in the booth, starting early this evening. But before we get to any of the on-track action, let's just introduce ourselves to the season so far, how it's going. Once again, we do have 10 weekends this time around compared to 9 racing weekends of the season, and now we're going to our one and only North American round in Montreal, Canada, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. We're gonna have 1 hour of action plus a couple of laps separated in 2 races on this 4.361 kilometer racetrack. Mildly cold conditions today. The air temp is 15 degrees Celsius, so it's not too bad, not too good. It will depend a lot on how the drivers can handle the tire temperatures, how well they can maintain it, and obviously not too much wind today either, so the drivers are not going to be disturbed too much by the track conditions, having to focus on their driving and their skills. With that done, let's look at the track today. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, you have a little bit of generic information on your screen right now. This is a very interesting track, mostly populated by the chicanes, and the first one, turns 1, 2 and 3, called Virage Sena, is a good example of it. You go from the start-finish straight with DRS maybe wide open into a little bit of a corner, and instantly you have to lean the car all the way around for the long right-hander. Then you follow it by a few chicanes, including the turns 8 and 9, which is a faster one, that feeds you right onto turn 10, which is the hairpin. From basically near top speed, you slam the brakes, and there are a few lines based on how well you can rotate the car and how you want to set up the car for the longest straight, possibly on the entire calendar. The Casino Straight feeding you all the way into the Wall of Champions, turns 12 and 13, the final corners on the track, possibly the most important corners on the track, as you go many gears down from DRS wide open, and you had to go through that chicane millimeter perfect, because if you dare step a little bit too wide or too narrow, the car will rotate or the car will understeer straight into that wall, and if you feed into that wall, the car is broken, and the car is gonna be a handful till you fix it on your next pit stop or till you cross the checkered line. This track does not forgive any mistakes. The walls are very close, and you're gonna have to drive it perfectly if you want to be fast. This is definitely gonna be a huge challenge for everybody involved in this race. And speaking of people involved in this race, we're gonna go straight to our standings. After 2 weekends, after 4 races, Thibault's racing, the only Mercedes team is on top with 309 points, chased by Phoenix Racing Team Gold. Gilles and Mr. Grinder, 2 drivers that are ready to challenge them. The rest of the standings you can see on your screen. 6 teams so far entered into the championship, but moving towards the drivers, it's much closer after 2 weekends. McLaren team is in the lead once again with 165 points, his teammate behind him with 144. Mr. Grinder is leading the duo of PIT Gold cars, and the trio of Audis in 3rd to 5th, with Gilles and Waffles behind. And then we have basically the entire cavalry of BMWs from 6th all the way down to 10th, and the second PRT team is starting the the second part of the standings with Nod, James and Martin behind, and we do have a couple of newbies on the track today. It's gonna be number 100, the Brit, Crossdale, and number 019, Swarthaven. We don't quite know what is their pace, on how well they're gonna handle the track, the cars, and the competition. So it's really gonna be interesting how these two are gonna enter the challenge and how well they be able to maintain that level of competition. And while the cars are finishing their qualifying laps, I might as well just go off on a tangent and dump all the information I have. We do have a support series for this championship going on in parallel, and the support series has completed the third round so far. We are racing the Porsche GT4 Club Sports. It's the single make series, and after 3 rounds your top 3 is looking like this. Fordham Burst is on top with 166 points. We do have 3 different teams, and it's actually a tie for the second place between McLaren team and Gunz's, as you see on your screens. It's definitely a completely different championship with partially fixed setups, and if you want to participate, you do see that Discord link. Follow it and join. Everybody is welcome in both support series, the main series, and everything in between. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say as the intro, I guess, to this series, as we do have a checkered flag out for our qualifying rounds. We do see McLaren Tim on top at 127.969 with his teammate less than a tenth behind him. Once again, 2 Timberwolves cars just refusing to get away from each other. And then we actually see a huge gap with Gunz's in third. Then we see Trampel in fourth. Couple of cars still yet to complete their flying laps. Gunz's being one of them. He's 0.553 behind the leader. We'll see if he's able to close that gap. He's pretty much safe for his third place, as everybody behind him is done with their laps. The only car I see not set in the lap time is Viperian, I believe.
Yeah, Viperian just pulled back into pit lane, and as far as I can see, only Gunsis and G-Man are still on track.
And I'm yet to see, do we actually have the new drivers on track? I'm not quite sure.
Swarthaven was there earlier, and Crossdale wasn't here yet.
Alright, so I'm gonna wait and see if they show up or not. Interesting, but we see Gunsis crossing the line. He did not improve his time, and I think the last car on track we have is G-Man, and he's pulling straight into the pit lane, and that'll be qualifying over. McLaren team takes the pole from Fordham Burst, Gunsis, Trampel, Mr. Grinder, Waffles, Neon Tiger, G-Man, Malzen, and Viperian, and possibly we're gonna have Swarthaven there for the race, as we do have 10 or maybe 11 drivers on the grid. As well, overtime is going on for inexplicable reasons. Please welcome our Lord Kunos to the conversation, as we're gonna get onto the grid in just a moment, and the first race is gonna get underway. If you forgot the rules for this season, we're gonna have 2 races. They're gonna have different lengths. The first race is gonna be 20 minutes long, no mandatory pit stop, start to finish, as fast as you can go. Pretty much a straight up sprint. You see drivers lining up. The camera can't handle the pressure either, as it's going on a tangent a little bit. I have a minute and 20 seconds till we are hitting our lights. Alright, just less than a minute to go. 2 Timberwolves racing cars occupying that front row, which is not really a special view. We are quite used to seeing these white, black and red cars occupying the first 2 lines. What is surprising is number 17, Trempel, is in 4th place. He split the PRT gold cars. We'll see if the German can mount a challenge throughout this race. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. Maybe a better chance for him in the sprint race. Because so far we've seen quite a few mistakes throughout races, mostly closer towards the closer to the finish rather than the start, as we do have the lights and we are about to go. And the cars are off the line. McLaren team is in the lead. Oh, he spun all by himself on the power and he's still loose. He turns on the track and he's collected by Neon Tiger and everybody goes everywhere. This is chaos. Neon Tiger is off the track and so is McLaren team. Drivers are going further. The leader is now dead last. Holy hell, I haven't seen that in quite a while. That poor of a start. Trempel is getting past Mr. Grind and Neon Tiger is in last, so he's struggling to get off the grass too. I'm interested to see where it goes, but Photon inherited the lead because of that. With Gilles occupying the 2nd spot, so Trempel didn't have the best of starts as he got passed by Waffles as well. Mr. Grinder is behind in 5th place. We saw him warming up the tires going towards the 3rd chicane. Definitely, everybody saw how treacherous those cold tires can be. So everybody's trying to warm up. Trempel is going on the inside, looking to pass Waffles. What a daring move into the hairpin for the first time. And he manages to pull that off. Maybe a little bit of cooperation from the Swede and the number 30 car, who didn't want to shut the door on the German. And now they're side by side heading into turn 12 on the casino straight. Oh my god, this might not end well on the first lap, but no, car number 30 keeps it clean and everybody is through on the first lap. Meanwhile, in the battle for the lead, there is Gilles versus Photon. They're close behind one another, so there might be a move. Gilles is trying to mount the pressure on the Dutchman. Photon might have inherited the lead, but he still might lose it. In another league, TC Legends that just finished yesterday, Gilles was in the battle for the podium. He lost the win, but he managed to climb in the 3rd spot in the championship, so he was denied another win. He might be driving angry today, trying to prove a point once again that he can win a race, especially with the tough competition Ford Bristol McLaren team present. But with Tim taking himself out of the equation so early, now he has his sights firm on the Dutchman, and let's see if it goes anywhere. He sits behind. Remember, DRS is, I believe, not available still. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It should open up next lap.
Alright, it should be... okay. So next lap, so far, Gilles just sits in a draft and waits for an opportunity. This is one of the tracks where DRS can actually help. This is a monumentally long straight. So if you tuck in behind the car and open your letterbox, it might help you immensely. This is one of these courses with tight turns and long straights. But so far the 2nd lap ends and Ford stays in the lead, but meanwhile Martin is in the wall of champions. He had to wait for everybody to go by. I'm not sure if... I think he was all alone. I don't think there was a collision anywhere. So we have our first victim of the wall of champions. The Brit in the 22 machine got claimed. Meanwhile, we switch for the battle. That's battle for the 4th place. It never calmed down. That's 3rd place. Waffles, Trampel and Mr. Grinder all together. G-Man, couple of corners behind. Not even a couple of corners, probably a corner behind. What am I talking? A couple of seconds behind. We can see him on the screen right there. So this trio will definitely have a lot of fun with a DRS when it becomes available. Well, it is available, but probably drivers are saving it for this straight after the hairpin. Line of Sturd coming out. Now whoever has the best exit. Trempel is not really successful in that regard, but he'll... let's see. Let's go on board with car 17. No DRS open. And Mr. Grind is flying from behind. And is already through late on the brakes. And he completes the move. Pardon me. No DRS open for Trempel. That is very, very interesting. He was basically driven around. I'm not sure if it was driver error or the help of DRS that made it happen, but Trempel falls all the way down to 5th place. As we switch to Gunses, who's still chasing leader Fordenburst. No DRS open. Once again, if you look at the dash on your screen, you see the DRS box on the bottom right of the dashboard, and you see right now it lit up with the neon green light. That means that DRS is open, the drag is reduced, and the acceleration and top speed are better than the car ahead. Combine it with the draft pocket the car generates being behind another car, and it's considerable increase in top speed and acceleration due to reduced drag. So it's definitely some advantage for the driver chasing, but as you see, Gunses is half a second behind. So as much of an advantage as it is, Photon still keeps him a little bit away from the distance of attack. So Gunses will need to close the gap at the hairpin to do anything. Oh, there is a bump for the third! And Waffles is off the track, everybody checking up, and Waffles is facing the wrong way. He's trying to reverse on the track. G-Man goes around, McLaren Tim is going around, and Waffles lost a lot of positions. We managed to capture the end of it on the screen. There was a little bit of a wheel bang between him and Mr. Grinder coming to the chicane. Oh, there is a big mess in turn 1. G-Man is now trying to defend against McLaren Tim and Waffles. McLaren Tim tries to go the long way around, and he does just that. I think G-Man doesn't want anything to do with the people behind him. He wants to fight off Viperian and let Tim by. He's let the other car by as well, so Waffles goes by. Not much of a fight from the American, who is now being chased by his teammate. That passiveness might cost him an actual position right now against his teammate as they approach turn 8 side by side. Round the outside tries to go G-Man, and he keeps the position for now. Viperian is looking for a crossover. He will be on the outside coming towards the hairpin. We'll see who will be superior under brakes. It's a shorter route, and he is way later on the brakes, and G-Man loses 3 positions now after turn 1. Not the best lap for number 19. We switch for the battle for the lead. Gunses was looking into turn 1. He closed the gap considerably. He's now looking for an opportunity to pass. But yeah, we saw Waffles and Grinder touch wheels. Grinder had to wash wide, but Waffles tried to make the turn, and he was absolutely sideways on the approach as well. And the curbs, the sausage curbs in the last chicane are extremely tall. So if you climb them, the car bottoms out, and you're basically a passenger for the ride until your car stops, and it stopped facing the wall of champions. So he lost a considerable amount of time. We're almost halfway through the race, and there's still lots of battles to be had. McLaren team managed to recuperate all the way to 5th position. 5-second gap to Trempel in 4th now. Trempel, who is trying to mount a comeback on Mr. Grinder for podium position, but we are looking for this duo up front. It's Gunses and Fordon. Gunses is trying to go wider, trying to get a little bit more speed on Fordon, and interesting to see him basically abandoning any opportunity to pass into the wall of champions, into the final turn. Maybe setting Fordon up for turn 1 instead, looking for a couple of DRS runs. It's an interesting tactic from
Trampel making a move on Mr. Grinder. Sorry for interrupting.
Alright, I'm just trying to switch, and yeah, thank you, Psych. That's another pass that's for the third place. Trampel closed the gap. It was 0.7 of a seconds, but it got negated, and Trampel is now in podium position. Mr. Grinder will have to get another overtake done to get his place back, but he might be able to do that now as Trampel washes a little bit wide. But now he closes that door and makes sure he stays ahead, but that battle is far from over. We do have a couple of battles, and we do have Neon Tiger still recovering. He's just a couple seconds back from the duo of Viperian and G-Man, so we might see that battle at some point. Switch back to the battle for the lead. Still less than half a second. We go on board with the Latvian. See if the letterbox is open once again. I don't see any reason to not use it while you can. You see a little bit of hesitation on the throttle, and before opening DRS he wants to make sure he has the grip before opening the DRS, but it might have cost him a little bit as he now tries to chase Photon. Let's see, in the braking zone he's a little bit later than the Dutchman, but still a little bit of hesitation coming out of a turn. DRS is open. It will close right here at the start-finish. Still no move inside. We're moving a little bit back. That's Mr. Grinder and Trampel. Mr. Grinder looking for a move into turn 1. Will he try something? No, he stays put. And so far, everybody is a line of stern. Still 9 minutes plus 1 lap. It's a considerable amount of time. We do have ourselves a trio. Waffles had a bit of an issue at some point, and now he's being challenged by Viperian. Oh, Waffles a little bit dodgy, but oh! Hello there! Viperian just drives into the back of Waffles, and both of them are off the track. Oh! There might be some bad blood between those two. That looked considerably unhappy from Viperian. He's now being very slow. I don't know if he wants to let Waffles by, but there goes Marzen.
Yeah, I think he's letting him by.
And there goes Waffles. And there goes Viperian. So everything just happened. A couple of questionable moves, and definitely race control will have to look at those. But Viperian sacrificed his position to basically drop to last place, let Waffles back through. While we were spectating that, Neon Tiger closed on G-Man. That's a battle for 6th place. We do have a word from Swordhaven, who did not grid for race 1 with some technical issues. We'll see if he manages to get back on the grid for race 2 or not. That's still up in the air because there's a considerable amount of time still. But for race 1 we still have 10 drivers, and even with 10 drivers we do have quite a bit of entertainment on our hands, and definitely some questionable moves. We do have still 3 battles on the track, including the battle for the lead. It's still in an area of half a second between the 2 leaders with 7 minutes left on the clock. Drivers still looking for a way to move past one another, and as we are closing to the checkered flag in this first race, I guess this is as good of an opportunity as ever to go on board and treat you to some pure sound. we are back and we are on board with McLaren Tim, the driver who was unfortunate enough to lose it right from the get-go before even turn 1. And since then, he's been mounting a comeback. He's in P5, and the car ahead, the teal-colored car, is Trempel, who had a bit of an issue while we were away, and now is 2 seconds in front of McLaren Team and 2 seconds behind Mr. Grinder. So there's definitely a battle brewing. Neon Tiger, as you could see, finalized his move on G-Man, and now trying to get away. Wolfels is a couple seconds behind Marzen, so there might be a bit of a race going on there at the end, and still half a second between our two leaders. They might be just going till the end, and Gunzes might be waiting for that one move, that one daring dive bomb. I know he has it in him. After all, he was a teammate of Maestro for the longest of times. He might have picked up some of his skills. As I say that, he a little bit botched the corner and lost a couple tenths, but still within striking distance. We're looking at McLaren Tim. He still has 4 minutes plus 1 lap to catch Trempel. I don't think he'll get anywhere near Grinder, but P4 is in sights. And there is another battle. We look at car of Waffles, who was a participant in that unfortunate incident with Viperian at some point in the race. He's now a second behind Marzen, looking to get P8 in this race. Salvage at least something. So we do have 3 battles on our head as we are entering the final minutes of the race. Here's a battle for the lead. The drivers are as close as they've been from a very beginning. The 000 Audi is close, but not close enough. And I think, Syke, as the team manager for PIT Gold, you might be almost screaming internally for Gunzes to just go for it.
A little bit, yeah, but we've seen in practice and in preparation that the Mercedes is once again really strong here. And yeah, I guess Gunzes has to make the best of it.
Definitely still a couple chances for him. The race is not over yet. So we'll see if he tries and close the gap at the end. Foden definitely found his groove late in the race. We're looking at multiple battles. We're looking at this one. Trempel is still in a sandwich between Grinder and McLaren Tim. They're all together. Trempel is closing the gap, so it might be a 3-way battle at the end. Quite interesting indeed. Looking further back, Waffles is closing on Mars, and he'll probably finalize that pass sooner rather than later. You see these 2 cars on your screens right now. We're trying to look everywhere. Hopefully we don't miss any action. Waffles is looking for a move, not gonna get it there. I don't think he's gonna get close enough at the hairpin, but he is right behind, so he might be looking for a move later. Meanwhile, McLaren Team is right on the rear of Trempel, looking behind him, not gonna get a move done yet. Further behind, Waffles and Marzen approaching. Marzen defending hard, back on the racing line, side by side into turn 13, and Waffles gets the move done. Marzen looks for a crossover, but no better exit for Waffles. Marzen will try to make a move into turn 1. Is he daring enough? He is looking, he's trying, he's not gonna go. And that's a pass done. Less than a minute to go. Waffles goes into 8th place. And now we're looking for this battle. Gunz is more than a second back. I don't think he's gonna get anything out of it. But we do have a 3-way battle for the podium. Mr. Grinder, Trempel, and McLaren Tim all together with the clock ticking down. 30 seconds to go, which means we're probably gonna have 2 more laps of action. Let's see where this leads us. Number 20, number 17, and number 71. 3 different teams, 3 high-skilled drivers and 2 laps to get it done. McLaren team is chasing down Trampel. Into turn 1, there's no move. Still looking for something. And I don't think they're gonna force the issue until the final lap. They're still gonna wait for an opening. Because there's a lot at stake. There are 3 cars involved. If you try to force a move and lose time doing it, you're gonna lose out to the 3rd car. This is why they're all trying to be a little bit cautious until the very end. On the last lap, all bets are off and people will try to make moves. Looking everywhere else on the track, drivers are close but not close enough. So this is the battle pack we are chasing. G-Man is a second back from Neon Tiger, so we gotta keep one eye on that. Meanwhile, McLaren team is a little bit further back. Trampel is right on the gearbox of Mr. Grinder. Let's see if something happens. This is the penultimate time they're gonna take the casino straight in this race. If somebody has DRS left, they will be opening that letterbox. Trampel has it open. Will he be able to make a move? He is behind, he is looking. Is he gonna go? No, not close enough. He's gonna try to make the wider line work. Extended turn, they have 1 lap to go. All 3 of them, all 3 together. The 2 cars behind both have slight runs. Trampel is looking for the inside. Is he gonna go? He's trying to make a move. He's on the inside. There's a little bit of a tap. Oh, there's a big crash and both of them are off. McLaren team says thank you very much and goes into 3rd place. This is what I was talking about. You make a mistake and the 3rd driver is gonna capitalize on that, and that's exactly what happened. A little bit of a touch between 17 and 20. We're definitely gonna have a steward review on that. But on track, McLaren team goes through and into 3rd place. Meanwhile, in the lead, here we see Fordenburst, who managed to fight off Gunses until the last time on the casino straight. I'm not gonna say till the end because they still have a couple of treacherous turns to go, but so far Fordenburst with almost an ideal race from start to finish. The last exit perfectly squeaky clean, and he is the winner of race 5 of Phoenix World Championship 2020. Gunses takes the checkered line just 1 second behind, and we see that trio all with damage, and McLaren team, after having issues right at the start, manages to claw back with some help and rounds out our podium in the 3rd place. Mr. Grinder, unfortunate participant in that crash, is in 4th with Trampel right behind in 5th. The duo we had been down for possible battle we see on screens right now, but they're a little bit too far away from each other. Just under 2 seconds between Neon Tiger and G-Man, who are gonna cross the finish line 6th and 7th respectively. Waffles built a solid gap and gonna finish in 8th position, with Marzen in 9th and Viperian, after a big crash in the middle of the race, is now taking the casino straight to finish in 10th. That was an exciting race. We didn't have a lot of drivers on the grid today, but with the 3rd anniversary, it was definitely a sight to see, as quite a few drivers decided to blow some fireworks and make some sparks prior to finishing the race. And here we have the final car crossing the finish line, but our winner of race 1, the car number 28, our winner, Fordenburst. Great performance from the Dutchman, and I believe that's his first win of this season. I'm trying to pull up the standings. Yes, he had 3 second places and 1 third place. It's his first win of the championship, and with the help of the problem from his teammate, he is now closing in the championship as well with a good result to his name. We're not gonna...
We also got word from Swordhaven he won't be joining race 2 because his PC is entirely dead apparently.
That's unfortunate for the new guy. Hopefully he will be there for future races. But in this race we will have 10 drivers at the starting grid for race 2, which is gonna start in a few minutes. We're gonna have a little bit of a break. Hopefully the drivers will calm down a little bit after quite a bit of excitement at the end of the race.
Drive me down to the pine trees, looking for lost hopes and dreams. I feel you breathing in your heartbeat, spinning tires set alight, fire on the street. These concrete skies make
Does it improve the lives of people? That's the true measure of any technology or any new investment. And you hope to God that basic core human element is never lost, no matter how technologically advanced we get as people. So the human case has always been strong for what direct relief does. People who are poor or stuck in these terrible circumstances need help. That basic idea to listen, not impose, to be respectful and not arrogant is still as valid as it was in 1948. Principles really don't change, and I think direct relief, fortunately, started with good ones of being open-minded, kind of big-hearted with respect to people's needs, and hard-headed when it comes to other people's money. When you look back and think direct relief has played a significant role in many of the signature humanitarian events over the past 70 years, the combination of those characteristics has served the organization well, and they're sort of timeless. You're surrounded by inspiration if you see it. I think anytime, if you've never done something, or you've done something at one scale, it's scary to think how you can do it at 10 times the scale. But at the end of the basic decision was pretty easy. Why would we not do this when the signals were all pointing in the right direction? The dedication of the building is really a rededication to the cause, to the idea, and a commemoration to the people whose generosity made it possible. What it represents is a much greater capability to help more people with tools that we have embedded in it, with the experience of 70 years. To bring those together in this building so we can do more in the same efficient way we've always tried to do it is really exciting. And we are sobered by the challenge, but deeply thankful for the opportunity to keep doing what Direct Relief has been doing for the past 70 years.
Contact Marco Bittman. He's out onto the runoff area.
Go fully into my car.
Keep going.
So this is extraordinary.
And we are back for race 2 of the third weekend of Phoenix World Championship 2020. We're on board with Gilles, who's sitting on the grid waiting for the race to start just over a minute. And while we do have that minute, since we're celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the league, we do have some interesting information. We have calculated all the races drivers participated in throughout their careers here in PRC, and we do have the stats for everybody. And the driver with the most races at 174, this is his 174th race, is the driver on board right now. Gilles completed the most races. The second closest is Neon Tiger, and this will be 158th race for the American. Over 150 races, and for 6 people, these two plus Maestro, yours truly, Viperian and Trampel, it's over 100 races. 3 years strong, and hopefully at least as many more, as we are getting ready to start race number 2. Fordham Burst on pole. Let's see if he makes his teammate's mistake, as we do have our lights and we are ready to go in a moment. Lights are out and away we go. Much better start from Fordham than his teammate. Good start from McLaren team as well, but Gilles tries to close the inside line. Good start from Fordham. Gilles saves his P2 for now, forcing McLaren team to the outside, and Mr. Grinder tries to take advantage of it, but good move from McLaren team saving that position. Swordhaven managed to get around a couple of people. Neon Tiger is down to last position. I'm not sure how that happened, probably some shenanigans. And McLaren team is meanwhile trying to make a move on Gilles into turn number 6, I believe. And now Gilles is side by side and under fire from his teammate, but Gilles himself is looking for a move. Everybody is bunched up. Trampel is looking for something. G-Man is trying to get around Swordhaven. The timing screen is a little bit messy as we speak, but Swordhaven keeps his position for now. We'll go further. Alright, G-Man lost the
I saw what happened with Neon. G-Man apparently is lagging real bad and seems to have hit Neon into turn 1.
Okay, so G-Man dropped to last place, and we saw Neon make a move on Swordhaven into the hairpin, as Swordhaven missed the turn just a little bit. So that's shenanigans at the rear of a grid, as Mr. Grinder millimeters away from that wall. As Fordham Burst runs away, McLaren team under fire from Gilles. Gilles had 20 minutes to beat a Timberwolves racing car, and he failed. Now he has 40 minutes to beat yet another Timberwolves racing car, and let's see if he manages to do it now. Remember, there is a compulsory pit stop at any point of the race for each of the drivers. So it's gonna be interesting to see if tactics are gonna be at play early in the race. If somebody is gonna risk it, like Gilles is not willing to be stuck behind a car and trying to get somewhere fast. Meanwhile, Viperian jumps behind Marzen after, I think, a mistake. So Marzen gets up to 7th position. A driver who has switched the car after his first couple of weekends. He started as a driver of BMW. He's now in a Mercedes. And right in front of him, Waffles is chasing Trampel. That's for 5th place. Moving further up the grid as we go onto the casino straight once again. Draw the casino. As they say in Montreal, Gilles is behind McLaren team, but once again just out of the dive range. So he sits behind and waits for a better opportunity. And he might find it now. He has a slightly better exit onto the start-finish straight. He is looking but not going as of yet. Will he dive inside? No, he doesn't. He sits back and waits. Very patient Latvian, maybe a little bit too patient, as he sits behind McLaren team for yet another lap and going away from his teammate. Looking back, we have a couple of guys here and there. Waffles is closing in on number 17 car, Trampel, who might have caused a collision at the start of a last lap last time, which caused him a battle for 3rd place. Now he finds himself in 5th, but under fire from the number 30 BMW, turned by Swedish driver Waffles. Marzen is not too far behind both of them, so if anyone make a mistake, the Brit might strike and take a couple of positions away. Meanwhile, still Gilles is close. this time at the hairpin. Let's see if he gets a better run than Tim. He's trying a little bit of wider line, but he's on the grass. He tried to accelerate a little bit too early, which made him understeer a lot. It's kind of a little bit of an insight of how the car is set up. The driver set up the car to the like, and we see that Gilles maybe has a slightly more understeer car. As he put the throttle down, the rear didn't step out, but instead he started to plow a little bit, which caused him to go a little bit on the grass. And earlier on you saw him, I'll finish my thought later, as Gilles is looking for a move on the inside, side by side, but Tim manages to outbrake him and keep the position. That's the first time Gilles tried to make a move. It was close, but no cigar. We do have a battle between Champel and Waffles, and Waffles dives on the inside into turn 3. Completes a move for now. Champel is looking around the outside. Will he be able to outbrake the Swede? No, and he slots back, and that's position number 5 for Waffles with a complete pass. Let's see if there's gonna be a counter-attack from a German, or if he's gonna sit back and wait for a little bit. Meanwhile, behind, G-Man is closing down on Swordhaven. Let's see if there's gonna be any fireworks between those two as the race goes on. I wanted to say something. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, about Gilles' setup. We saw earlier in the race when we were on board that he hesitated pushing throttle all the way down for just a little bit every single time. And as you see, the understeer, maybe that's why. If you press it a little bit too early, he will plow. And once your car plows, it's very, very difficult to save it. Meanwhile, Gilles is on the outside at the end of a casino straight, and into the pits he goes. Here's a little bit of a juke from a Latvian. Might have made McLaren team scared for his life a little bit. That might be a legitimate tactic to make your opponent just brake a little bit too early, scared for his position, and go into the pit lane. Remember, there are no tire warmers. There we see Viperian going through. The next will be Neon Tiger. So it might be a battle at the exit between him and Viperian, actually, because you cut the first complex as you exit. Let's see where he leaves. I'm not quite sure it's on the track. G-Man has disconnected, so the American is done for today. He had a little bit of technical issues. Apparently it gotten worse, unfortunately for him. I don't believe he's gonna be classified for this race. But Gilles returns in 8th position between Viperian and Neon Tiger with cold tires. There are no tire warmers, so you have to warm up on the track, and we might see Gilles wiggling his rear a little bit to try to get some hit in those tires. And that's gonna be very important later. Because if McLaren team doesn't pit now... Oh, and we see Swordhaven disconnected as well. So it's 2 drivers who did not finish. We saw Swordhaven having some issues before the first race, so it might have struck him again. McLaren team does not pit. He does not want to cover the Latvian. So it might be the difference in strategy that's gonna play into someone's hand. So the team doesn't cover, and that means when Tim goes into the pit lane, and when he rejoins, even if he rejoins ahead, he will be on cold tires, so it might be a prime opportunity for the Latvian to strike and to get that position from him. That is a very interesting tactic, and we'll see how it differs with Photon and what 2 teammates will be able to show with their strategies. Meanwhile, further back, Waffles and Trampel still about 7/10ths back from each other. Oh! Did Waffles just smash the wall there?
I wasn't watching on him.
It looked like Waffles smashed the wall and rejoined right in front. There might be some damage on that car. If that wasn't a visual glitch, he definitely lost all the time in the world to Trampel, so something must be happening. They're now really close together. We'll see if Waffles dives into the pit lane to try and fix the damage if he has any. Let's try to go on board with number 30. The windshield is fine, so if there's any damage, it does not show.
Bumper. Yeah, he seems to have hit the wall, because the front bumper is a bit crumpled, and the left side of the car as well. And the rear forward
So
swerve.
it definitely was impact. Let's see if the Swede pulls into the pit lane right now. He's not braking, he's staying out. He values track position more than the health of his car at this moment. He feels like he can continue battling, and we will continue spectating that battle. Meanwhile, Gunses is 2 seconds back from Viperion. He will need to make quick work of the Kiwi if he wants to make sure he stays within the fighting distance of McLaren Tim. Tim, meanwhile, closed the gap to Photon, just a couple tenths, but it's a start, as he still has half an hour to make that pass stick. So it's definitely plenty of time for him to make that pass if he keeps chipping away at the gap. Champel is behind Wolfel, he's getting a little bit restless. There was a little bit of a loop, but probably not a good opportunity to pass in turns 6 and 7. Probably better to wait for the hairpin as they go one by the other. So Swordhaven confirmed technical issues. He will be not classified and set in 10th position. So that's 9 drivers left on the track, and a few of them are now fighting. Meanwhile, for 7th and 8th, there is Gunses. He has 2 cars in front of him, Viperion and Marzen, and he might be losing time. There was a little bit of a wiggle as he had to brake maybe a little bit harder than he's used to. But now he's gonna get his letterbox wide open and try to get by Viperion as soon as possible with the help of DRS. They're side by side coming onto the Casino Street. We'll see if Viperion will be let go of the controller. Yes, he does. He doesn't want any of the Latvian, who's evidently much faster, and Gunses goes by. Now his next target will be Marzen 224 right in front of him in the Mercedes. Let's see if he manages to get by him really fast. He will not have the Casino Straight to get an easy pass for another half a lap, so he might work for that. Unless Marzen just yields. He doesn't do so just yet, and there is the traffic. That's the dreaded traffic with the early stop. Gunz is losing time behind them, and he needs to make a move stick, and he does stick it on the inside of turn 5 and gets by. And it's interesting to see how much time he lost in that exchange. We switch towards the battle of Waffles and Trempel right now. Now McLaren team closing the gap to Photon once again, so it's just 2 seconds between those two. McLaren team is our championship leader, but Photon won the first race. Trempel on the inside coming into the hairpin. That's a dive from a German, but will we see a crossover? What a brilliant crossover from Waffles. And they're side by side, but number 17 will have his DRS open. He's behind, but he has the speed advantage. They're coming onto the Casino Straight side by side. All to play for, and let's see if somebody yields, somebody tries, or somebody goes to pits. No, nobody goes. But Trempel does not fancy a move there. He is being a little bit conservative, and Waffles stays ahead for the time being, and behind them we see Gunses already catching up. 27 minutes left. Viperion, meanwhile, closes the gap to Marzen, so there might be a fight between those two very, very soon. Looking all around, McLaren team still closing the gap, but it's still about 2 seconds. The next car is Mr. Grinder, who's slowly falling off, but he might be competing with Gunses rather than Tim, if Gunz has lost a lot of time in that exchange with the traffic. So we still don't know where it's gonna go. It's definitely still interesting over there for third and fourth. Meanwhile, there's a battle for 7th place. Viperion, the only PRT black car left on track, will have to carry his team for the rest of the race. So he will want to get around Marzen, who is direct competition in the championship for him at this point. As Marzen is a little bit loose coming out of a hairpin, had to use a bit more of a track than he probably would have liked. Meanwhile, Photon answers with a great lap of his own, 29 flat. The best lap is 128.995 for McLaren team, so he basically matched the fastest lap time, with Tim losing a couple tenths there. So the Dutchman is trying to go a little bit faster now to try and cover off the comeback of his American teammate. Still half a second between Waffles and Trempel in the battle for third, and this is probably the closest battle we have on track right now, as the Kiwi Viperian is chasing the Brit Martin 224 for 7th place, as we go on board with said Kiwi, who is now going full chase mode. Actually, we're gonna switch, we're gonna go on board with car 17, as commentators goes alive and well. As soon as we switch to that onboard, Trempel locks all 4 tires in the slide and now loses about a second to Waffles. Apologies for that, Trempel, but you did it all to yourself, mate. We switch back to Viperian, who's chasing Marzen, and with that side, which is cleaner than that Trempel half a second ago, we go to yet another Pure Sound segment. Maybe after this happen. Because Viperian is looking for a move on the outside, and that's a little bit too much outside, mate. So he'll have to try once again. Viperian still chasing Mars, and meanwhile Gilles got around Waffles and Trempel as we were on board with Viperian. Gilles is on a different strategy, so that's not for net place, but we see that white and orange car in the background. That's a Neon Tiger that's about to enter that battle for 7th position, so we might have ourselves a 3-way dance. Meanwhile Waffles is on the back tires of Gunsis, trying to run away from Trempel, using a little bit of a drag advantage here. As they complete yet another lap, we have to switch for the battle there. Viperian, as soon as we went to Pure Sound, Viperian tried to make a move stick, and I think Neon Tiger just jumped onto the pit lane. He doesn't want to enter that fight, he wants to go around that fight. That might be a very, very smart move from the American, looking for an undercut. Viperian looking for a move into turn 1. Almost scared Martin there. That was a prime psychological maneuver. Almost scared the Brit off the road, but still stayed behind. But yeah, Viperian had a good attempt into the hairpin, but went a little bit too deep and off the track, so he wasn't able to capitalize on that. So he still finds himself behind the 22 car. Quite a few attempts. Meanwhile, Fordham Burst set a blistering lap time earlier on, but now he made a couple of mistakes, which allowed McLaren team to close the gap. Now it's 1.2 seconds between them, down to 1.1, and I think that's McLaren team diving onto the pit lane as well, because he felt he was closing in. That's the pit stop for maybe the second place. Let's see where Gunses is, and let's see what is going to be the difference. McLaren team exiting the pit lane. He has the entire pit lane to complete. Meanwhile, Gunses is not in the picture yet. He's still just now just exiting from the wall of champions, as McLaren team already rejoining, and that is a huge gap between those two. There is Tim rejoining right behind Mr. Grinder, and Gunses so far is 7 seconds back. Gunses lost 7 seconds. But now Gunses posted the fastest lap at 1:28.7, so he will have a little bit of time to close that gigantic gap. Martin is on the pit road now, which is also quite interesting. We're gonna see it from Neon's perspective, because he was behind that battle. Let's see if that one lap undercut helped him get around the grid. The last car in that battle yet to go onto the pit lane will be Viperian. We're gonna see that car right ahead. There is that silver car that just exited turn 1. Has a little bit of an advantage, about 5 seconds, but it's gonna go down. But it's not as drastic as Gunses' McLaren team, but it's still a gap that's gonna close. Meanwhile, yet again we do have a battle between Trampel and Waffles, and as soon as we join, Trampel is a little bit sideways, but still chasing and right on the tail of the Swede. These two have been battling for a long time. There's Mr. Grinder on the pit lane. Let's see where he rejoins in relation to these two. No, we're not gonna see, as Trampel dives onto the pit road as well, with Waffles continuing onwards. So we'll see if there's gonna be an undercut there too. Mr. Grinder now leaves the pit lane, and he emerges behind Waffles, who is yet to pit, and about 10 seconds behind Gunses, so there's no competition there. So it's a little bit of no man's land gonna be for Mr. Grinder in net 4th place. So we do have one driver yet to take their mandatory pit from a leadership group, and that is Fordham Burst, the race leader. We see him on the screens right now. 18 minutes left in the race, plus 1 lap. Let's see if he tries to stretch it, or if his tires are slowly starting to go and he would need to pit sooner rather than later. It's gonna be really interesting. If he dives right now, no, he goes for yet another lap. So Fordham decided to not react to any of the drivers behind him. He drives his own race, he does his own strategy, and let's see if it's any better than everybody else around him. As we saw with McLaren team and Gunses, pitting earlier ended up being worse. But what will happen with pitting later? Is that a constant growth in time, or did McLaren team find the perfect peak spot to exit the pit lane, and the tires are gonna go down from here? Meanwhile, Waffles is on the pit lane. That's also gonna be interesting from a perspective of a battle with Trampel. Couple of laps of difference. We're on board with the Swede as he takes his mandatory new cold tires, and back on the pit lane. Viperian is also on the pit lane. We'll look at him a little bit later once we figure out what happens with Waffles as he exits the pit road. Where is Trampel? There is gonna be a race between him and Trampel. We're looking for that 17 car that is currently behind, but it's not too far back, I don't believe. It's just a few seconds, just about 3 seconds. There is Viperian. We're looking for Martin and Neon Tiger. 3 seconds between those two, and Viperian emerges in front. So he has a few seconds of gap as well, and we'll see if anybody is able to close that gap to fighting distance. So far, stopping later has been superior strategy. Speaking of stopping later, our leader is in the pits. Fordon Burst is now in the pits, and we're gonna see if he's able to extend the gap on his teammate. Our McLaren team is able to snatch the lead from the Dutchman's hands. Then we see Tim navigating the final chicane. On the start-finish, coming towards the first couple turns, Virage Center. He'll have to take the full one while Fordon will be able to cut. And we see him enter turn 2. And where is Fordon? Fordon is not there. And only here, Fordon rejoins in second place, right ahead of Gilles, so Gilles might be challenging the Dutchman. Fordon is on cold tires. Gilles is on warm. Terrible stuff for number 28. He lost a lot of time and now might be losing the second position, as Gilles is looking for the inside move, trying to get inside. Will he be able to stay there? He closes the door right in Fordon's face, and up he goes into the second place. And that's Fordon from the lead to third on the pit cycle. Now Fordon Burst will have fresher tire, so he will need to go much faster to get around Gilles. But I don't think he's gonna get anywhere close to McLaren Tim just yet. We're looking at the fights behind. Trampel is now about a second back from Waffles as he's warming his tires. And Mawson, in regards to Viperian, is now 1.5 seconds back. So Viperian pretty much completed the pass on the Brit on the pit road. I believe his tires are gonna be real nice and warm now. But there was a gap. There isn't a gap between number 17 and number 30. Once again, they're close to each other, and the race continues. They pitted at different times. There was a gap, and now we resume the proceedings. Gilles is 4.3 now behind McLaren Tim, so Tim also makes a couple of mistakes, letting his opponents close a little bit. So we still might have a battle for the lead if these mistakes pile up one onto the other. Trampel millimeters away from hitting that wall of champions once again. But we're gonna go on board with Fordon Burst, who now has the fresh rubber, very fresh rubber compared to Gilles, and a chase on his hand. As for the final time of this race, we're going on board with Pure Sound. as we were away. We are not quite sure what happened. No, we're not sure what is still happening, as Gilles is all sideways and Photon goes by once again. Well, we were on a little break. Photon on a straightaway inexplicably slowed down and allowed Gilles by, and Gilles just slid wide to let Photon back through. The client team says thank you very much, but I'm not sure what is going on between those two. It's entertaining turn events, as Photon definitely cuts the corner right there, so race control. As they continue to jostle for position with just 9 minutes to go. These two are going all the way to the end. Meanwhile, we do have a race for 7th position, as Viperian and Martin right next to each other, Neon Tiger right behind them. They're all coming onto the casino straight and into the last chicane. Let's see who yields, who stays, who has the bigger balls. Side by side, and Martin keeps the position for now. Viperian slots in behind. Neon Tiger says thank you boys, keep fighting, I'll be right here for the foreseeable future, waiting for you two to crash, as there is a 3-way battle once again for 7th place. We saw that before. Martin from Viperian from Neon Tiger, even after the pit cycle, after a couple of mistakes and a couple of position swaps, it's the same thing once again. Waffles got away from Champel quite a bit by 5 seconds, so I don't think there's gonna be battle there. But Gilles is still trying to hunt down Photon, even after losing the position again for the 3rd time. I'm not quite sure what happened, but we're gonna focus on this battle for a little bit. Battle for 7th position, 3 cars in there, and we saw what happened last time. 3 cars were battling for position on track. Martin goes ultra defensive, and Viperian goes into the rear of him. Looks like Martin started breaking a lot, but it looks like Martin survived it just fine, and the only losing participant from that was Viperian, and we do have a race between Martin and Neon Tiger. It was basically bomb draft that stopped Viperian dead in his tracks, and now he has a little bit of catch up to do, as Neon Tiger is now mounting a challenge for 7th place. Let's see if he manages to get side by side. He does, and he is trying to get around the Brit into the final couple corners. He is pulling out of it. He doesn't want to race that hard just yet. We've seen many drivers just sitting back and relaxing into the Wall of Champions corner. So nobody's willing to take the risk and going too wide there. We might see that risk actually happen if it comes to the last lap. But for now, the drivers are sitting there and waiting for the right time to strike. Gilles is meanwhile 9/10 back from Photon. Maybe all tires are letting themselves be known at this point. And he's been chasing them for a while. He's been chasing Photon for a while. He might have run out of DRS applications as well. Not quite sure if it's true or not, but if so, it's gonna be even more difficult to catch the Dutchman, who's now in 2nd position. We go back to this battle for 7th place. Neon Tiger might be the faster car, but he needs to finalize that pass. They still have 6 minutes plus 1 lap. We're entering the final stages of the race, where anything can happen. Drivers are tired. Cars are getting tired. The tires are getting tired. And my voice has been away for a while now, but we all have to regroup and wait for the final few minutes, because sparks might still fly. We see Viperian in the back, just a couple of seconds. If Neon Tiger and Martin start racing each other hard, he might be right back with them. And it might still be a 3-car battle and a 3-make battle. Since Martin is driving a Mercedes, Neon Tiger is a BMW driver, and behind them Viperian represents Audi. So 3 different cars, a little bit different handling on all those 3 cars, but similar lap times between all 3. Looking at the times, Gilles is losing more and more time to Photon. I think his tires finally gave up the ghost, so he is unable to survive with the pace of the leaders. 128.1 is the fast lap by Photon Burst, who's starting to slowly catch up to McLaren Tim, but it might be a little bit too little, too late. We'll see 3.8 between them with 5 minutes plus 1 lap. Fortenberst will have to just pump out lap after lap after lap with a couple of mistakes from Tim if we want to see a battle for the lead, as Gilles is losing more and more time, but he has a 20-second gap to Mr. Grinder, who's a little bit in no man's land, so Gilles can relax a little bit if he gave up the battle, but now 8 seconds back, he's losing a lot of time. If that's a big problem with his tires, we might see him lose the car, so it's gonna be frustrating 5 or 6 minutes for the Latvian at the end of the race. Meanwhile, Trempel and Waffles, 3 seconds between them. So Trempel is just out of DRS range at this point. If he gets another 10th, he'll be back and maybe able to pull closer. We'll see what happens. Foden, meanwhile, 3.2 back. Foden is definitely turning lap after lap after lap of qualifying time, so we might have something on our hands. Now it's 3.1 and 3. He's 8 tenths faster this lap. What I said, it was nearly impossible. It might actually be possible for Foden, as he is driving as fast as he can, trying to catch up to McLaren Tim. He will need about a second a lap from his teammate to get there. We'll see if it's possible. He might have some DRS applications back. He needs to get 1 more tenth to get DRS for the next lap, to have it open anywhere he can. Meanwhile, Neon Tiger a little bit further back. No move here. But we'll see if the letterbox opens on his car as we go on board. DRS wide open. 1 second behind Martin, who's still hanging on to his 7th position. It was a difficult ride for the Brit, difficult start of the season, but he's finding his groove slowly but surely and trying to stay ahead of the American. DRS still wide open. Fortenberst is in DRS range right now. He is on the straight. He won't have DRS this lap, but if he stays there, he will have DRS for the next lap. He sees his target right ahead, and he sees what he needs to do, but what he might not see is the timer taken down ruthlessly. 2.7. He gained about 3, maybe 4 tenths this lap. It's not a lot, but now he's within DRS range. He needs those 28 flats. He pumped out early on. His tires might be losing a little bit of that edge that they had. But now we'll see if he gets it back with the help of DRS. We're on board with Fortenberst. He needs everything, literally everything he can get closer to his teammate. Here would be the first application of DRS. DRS wide open, a little bit loose, but now he's compensating for it with the letterbox. 2.2, he's closing the gap, but we have 1.5 minutes. DRS still wide open. He has a lot of applications left, and he will definitely have it open on the casino straight. He brakes a little bit later to get a deeper exit. Very loose, but he tries to open up the throttle as early as he can. It's under 2 seconds now. He gained almost a full second on McLaren Tim. Fortenberst is mounting a monumental charge as they have a minute to go. That means they have 2 more laps. 2 more laps and 1.5 seconds for Fortenberst to steal the victory from his teammate. 1.3. The gap just disappears into thin air. 28.1 against 29.5. 1.5 seconds gained by Fortenberst. He's closer. Trempel is now under investigation for DRS infraction. He might have been a little bit too far or might have used it for 1 extra lap. There might be a penalty coming his way, but he has nobody behind him in close vicinity, so we'll see if that was an honest mistake or a desperate attempt to get closer. Meanwhile, Fortenberst 1.4 back. DRS still open. He needs to get as close as possible here to make a move on the last lap. McLaren team is trying his best to stay ahead. Fortenberst is trying his best to get the run. They're both as fast as they can. 1.2. DRS still open. we're
Neon
on.
Tiger is making a move on Mars.
Neon Tiger making a move on. So let's switch back there side by side into the final corner. Neon Tiger looking, but he is still side by side. We're gonna switch back on the final lap to our leaders. There's 1 second between them, but now Neon Tiger might be his best chance to get around Marston for second place. Side by side into turn 1. He will have to hang around the outside. He's trying his best, but that door is shut. But now they cross the start-finish line for the penultimate time. Less than a second. 0.8 of a second between two leaders. Insane comeback. But now Photon Burst has exactly 1 lap. 4,000 meters and a little bit more to get around his teammate. It will have to be a very, very late move, possibly into the final turn. 0.5. He is right behind him. He can see him. He can smell him. He can almost taste that rear bumper as they go around the track for one last time. Neon Tiger 3 seconds back. He might be under fire from my appearance, so there was a mistake. They're coming into the penultimate chicane on this track. 0.4. 0.3. They're coming onto the hairpin. Now or never. Photon Burst does not go. 0.2. He will have DRS open. And now for the final time on the casino straight, two teammates, two championship rivals are going head to head, and there will have to be a move here. It's now or never for Photon Burst. He is in the drop pocket, they're side by side. Photon Burst is around, but now late breaking, will he be able to close the door? He does! He does! And he wins the race! From impossible, he wins the race from McLaren Tim in the final corner. The Dutchman absolutely steals the show. What a race! Incredible! Incredible race from Photon Burst. I have no words, no voice. It is insane. What a
Didn't see
race.
that one coming.
What a race. Gunsis finishes in 3rd place with Mr. Grinder in 4th. Waffles and Trampel you see on your screens right now coming into the last turn. There's not going to be a race there. Waffles finishes 5th with Trampel 6th. And we see the trio in the end. Neon Tiger was not able to get around Marzen. Brilliant performance from Brit. He manages to withstand the pressure from quite a few opponents and save his P7 unless he screws up in the final turn. He better not, even though the camera is on him, the pressure is on. Very safe, does not even use all the curb, and Marzen is home in 7th place. Neon Tiger takes 8th, and Viperian, after a little bit of a bump, finishes 9th and the last one to cross the checkered line. Viperian under investigation for mandatory tire change. Might be another error, but now we take a look at our race winner on the cooldown lap, Photon Burst. What an insane race for the Dutchman. From the lead to almost 6 seconds down, and a little bit of an error on the straight, having to get around Gunsis twice, with an insane comeback and a pass in the last turn for the win. These 2 wins cut down the lead of McLaren team quite a bit. If it comes at the end of a championship to this, I might be looking back at this very race and this very end as the breaking point, as the point where it all could have changed. These points that Photon Burst stole in the last corner from his teammate might have championship implications. And now him, Gunsis and Trampel with a little bit of a parade run into the pit lane. Brilliant race from our race winner. What a race. What a beautiful race. We definitely have to get him in the commentary booth as fast as we possibly can. Let's see if we can get him over here. Photon, can you hear us?
Yep, I can.
Wow, I don't have any words to describe what just happened on track. It looked impossible after the pit stop. It looked impossible after you got around Gunses. I said that it's probably not gonna happen, and yet, in the very last turn, you just go around your teammate and into the lead. How in the world did you do this?
Well, you're asking me. Yeah. Basically, I was just out of my flow for the entire first half of the race. The sprint race was awesome. I was absolutely consistent. Like, basically, if I made one mistake, Gunses would have had me, but somehow I kept it together and won that one. The start of this race was completely opposite. And, yeah, I don't know what happened. Basically, I hit some walls and I was like, well, I'll just repair this damage. It won't take too long. Apparently, it took like twice as long as the tires, so I lost a good couple of seconds there. But luckily, I landed right where Gunses was, and so Gunses and I were trying to work together to kind of DRS train back to Tim. But sadly, Gunses pitted so early that his tires were dead. And my tires were just getting up to pressure, and so I was like, okay, maybe if I push, I can get into his range, because I saw Tim was doing like 29.2s thereabouts, and I knew that I could go faster than that. I didn't know if he was just sort of slowing down to kind of secure his win, or if he just was out of practice, or I don't know what happened. I was like, well, I'll just give it a go, and we'll see then. And then he had some really bad lap. I think he set a 29.5 and I sent like a 28.7. And I got within a tenth of DRS with a couple laps to go, and I was like, well, okay, DRS will probably give me like 4 or 5 tenths on the straights alone. So there might be a possibility in this. And luckily the tires held up, and I could sneak up in the hairpin. I almost messed it up as well. And then he just sets up this great defense. Luckily, I just had enough gearing to get enough top speed to just get around him and complete the pass.
Definitely just enough, but for the drama, it was all there. But earlier on, we noticed when Gunses drove around you on a straightaway, we didn't kind of catch what happened. We just saw you slowing down with Gunses going by. What happened there?
Exactly. So basically, I mean, I don't know if this is illegal or not, but basically, me and Gunses were trying to work together. I was just trying to not fight him, and he had a good run, so I just let him by, and then hoped that the lap after I would have DRS, and then I could pass him again, and that way sort of try to cause a train so that we could close up on Tim and maybe fight for a win in the end.
Well, you didn't get into the equation that he was on basically half an hour old tires. He was sliding everywhere and obviously fell off the face of the earth towards the end to secure a third. But yeah, we were quite confused at that move, but it worked out, and it was definitely an interesting race between you two. In the first race, after Tim had an unfortunate start, you inherited the lead, but Gunses never gave up and had a few run-ins. So is Gunses getting closer to Timberwolf's pace, you think, overall, or is just that track?
I mean, I think he is getting a little bit closer, but I think it's also mostly the track, because the DRS is so powerful. Like I said, you gain about 4, 5, maybe 6 tenths just on the straights. And then he had to draft as well. So in that race, he used every single DRS, or he used every single possibility to use his DRS and get closer to me. So I think overall I did have the pace, and at the end he dropped off a little bit, I think because he made a few mistakes, ran out of DRS, and didn't have enough draft to keep up with me. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely closing up, so there's that.
We go for the next race week, we go from a track with an insanely long straight to a track with insanely long straight, which is an actual runway with understop another new track on our calendar. First of all, have you tried driving there? And second of all, do you feel like DRS will have even more impact there with that long straight after the first sector?
I have tried it, but it was in another car. Just because, like, usually when I practice way before, I sort of give myself kind of bad information. So I really want to do it with the conditions that we're going to get on race day. In the car I tried it, I don't know if I really like the track that much. I think DRS will have a pretty decent advantage, although it will mostly be on that straight, and the rest of the circuit is so twisty that I don't know if you're going to have a lot of advantage from it. But I mean, I guess the best way to tell is actually in practice or on race day. So yeah, we'll see about that. I can't really get a clean picture of how much effect it will really have.
Alright, well, good luck to you there, and good luck in the championship, since the gap is now shrunk with a few misfortunes for Tim in the first race and your great overtake at the end of the second one. So it's definitely going to be spicy between you two for the next few weeks and maybe the rest of the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just going to take it race by race. It's a little bit of a cliche, but I think this track just really suited me. I don't know if that's going to be the case in the future, so I'm just going to do my best every weekend and hope to get close.
Alright, good luck to you, man.
Yep.
Alright, let's see if we can make this thing work. And, well, I tried to invite different people in the booth, but I can't not invite this person. Tim, can you hear us?
Hey Georgian.
What a heartbreak of a race for you. The very last corner, you tried the entire race. It seemed like you had that pit strategy to basically perfection, and yet right at the end, did you try to race him into the corner, or did you try to set it up for the exit? What happened in the last corner, considering you teammates there, because we had only one angle?
Yeah, neither of those things. I just messed it up, lost a bunch of time, especially at the end. Like Photon in my DRS, I thought that was okay. I moved my brake bias forward a little bit to make sure I had more confidence under braking, but there were like 1 or 2 lockups that cost me like 4/10, and obviously the race was won by 1/10, so I don't really have much to say about that other than, you know, that's just on me. Great job to him. You know, he was right quick, even though he did like repairs in the pit stop or something, like, so
yeah, he did repair some damage. Apparently, according to race control, he was tapping a lot of walls at the exit of chicanes, including Wall of Champions and the second chicane, I believe. But let's dial back to the first race and the start. Just a case of severe wheel spin? What happened?
Yeah, I just didn't practice a lot of starts. My gears were kind of set up differently compared to the other races. But yeah, also not much to say about that. Just messed it up. Too much wheel spin. It went one way then the other, and you know, my apologies to Nihon for hitting him as I came back on. But yeah, other than that, that race was just damage control.
Still decent recovery to third place, partially thanks to 2 Germans that decided to not share the road. But yeah, we'll let you go here. Good luck to Understop, and the championship just got a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, and thanks for the broadcast, Georgian. I'm sure it looked spicy.
It sure did. Thank you very much. Alright, let's see who can we invite? Let's have an opinion of the other side of the grid. I reckon you hear us over there, Marzen.
Hi.
Hello. So that was an interesting race, maybe a comeback race for you after an unfortunate weekend before that in Kyalami, you changed the car from BMW to Mercedes, and in the end you withstood the pressure from a few guys in the second race. Do you feel like the track suited you better? Can you explain this improvement, or is it just something that just happened?
I think it's more just happened, but I had no pace in the middle of the lap, but I had pace at the end and the very beginning. So, and maybe some corner cutting, but that probably will be my downfall.
I'm gonna say right here, be careful what you say on air, because race control is right here in our booth right now. Right, so as well, there was a lot of carnage, but you seem to avoid most of it throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
So you picked up decent points, but the championship's still wide open with lots of races to go, and looking forward to Understop the next weekend. Have you seen the track? Have you tried it? Do you feel like you're gonna...
Nope.
Okay, that's a no.
That'll be a fun weekend.
Yeah, so you have what, Viperian and Juman, basically the entire team PRT Black all around you, and you had Neon Tiger, who's a decent driver in the best of days, around you too. So do you feel like you can maintain that pace throughout the championship?
I hope so. I don't know what is with this car specifically, but I feel more at home, so to say, with it. So yeah, I'm hoping this car will help me somewhat get better.
Well, good luck to you then in the rest of the championship. Hopefully more exciting races in the mid-pack. Or maybe in the front of the pack if something happens.
Potentially.
Right, let's have a listen from one more driver. Well, let's try to hear from one of the culprits of entertainment in race 1. Trample, do you hear us?
Yes, I do. Yeah, it was fun. I'm sweating a bit.
Entertaining weekend for you. Probably every single lap you had some sort of a fight going. Race 1 you had a grinder for company, team for the company at the end, and basically the whole race 2 you had Waffles with you. Is it more stressful for you, like more sweat inducing, to be racing in the back, racing against someone, than just racing the track?
I think for me it's better if I'm behind someone, because then I can, I see their line and then I can improve it on the fly. I did that a couple times with Waffles and changed my line a bit. The only thing I did when I was behind Waffles was I clipped the grass into the first chicane, and that cost me 6 seconds. And I think towards the end I was back to 1.6 or something like that. So it would have been a really good battle, and I think I had the pace to take him on, but that mistake just cost me the position.
Yeah, I think I'll have to take partially blame for your performance with Waffles, because we switched to your cars at least 5 separate times, and every single time you were a little bit sideways, so commentator's curse is strong on that one. If you rewatch that, you're gonna see that, so I'll take some of the blame for it. But still...
I can blame you then.
Entertaining battle, but you seem to be battling a little bit of a loose car. Is that a little bit of your setup, or I guess lack of setup? Can you explain like the loose car at the exit? We've seen it from you a little bit more than other cars.
It's my right foot, I think. Mostly. No, I'm knackered today. Doing a lot of stuff outside. I have a big headache, so it's just a lot of mistakes. Small mistakes with being on the throttle too early, which can cost you in this car very easily. Same as the Porsche, but this car is a bit more forgiving than the Porsche. But it just bites in a different way.
Alright, and speaking of mistakes, obviously we wanted to talk about that one mistake on the last lap of the first race where you and Grinder had contact. How did it look from your point of view?
I wanted to see my brake marker. That's why I moved to the left. So like, yeah, I'll just have a look and see where I actually have to brake, because you can't see it, or you see it too late when you're right behind someone. And then I kind of locked up a bit and went a tiny bit too deep. I thought I would be fine, but then I touched him, like, I think it was only like a slight tap, but it was the perfect time, and then Tim helped him to completely spin him around. But yeah, it was basically too late. I think a tiny bit too late on the brake, and then locked up, I think, the right front, and then jumped over the curb, I think, and then that was that.
Okay, but still, entertaining weekend for you. Lots of fights and some excitement for us in the booth and for people watching the stream, definitely. And asking a few people, not many could provide an answer. Let's see about you. Do you have anything to say about Understop? Have you tried it? This is going to be our next race.
I have never heard of that track.
Okay, so you'll join the majority of the drivers then.
Yeah, I've never heard it. We've never run it, did we?
No, we have never run it. The Swedish track. It is scheduled to debut in actual DTM this season, though that might obviously change for, once again, obvious reasons. But it's not gonna get off our calendar, that's for sure. So get ready for a long runway to drive on for quite a few laps.
Yeah, the difference in DRS is insane. In the first race, I think the first time DRS was on, I fucked up my DRS zones, so I basically used my quali DRS zones, and then I was out of DRS and the long straight. That's why my grinder passed me completely in turn. No, what was this race one? That was just stupid by me. But it's insane, the DRS, what difference it makes.
Yeah, we've heard so from Fodden for sure. Well, thank you for good entertainment and good luck to you in the later races.
Thank you. Thank you for the broadcast.
Alright, and I think this will be it for us for today. Definitely lots of excitement, eh, Sai?
Yeah, it was a fun event overall, I think. Lots of stuff to review, but we'll see about that in the next few days once the reports come in.
Definitely lots to talk about in race control. Obviously, the complete results will be posted on Discord and Wiki throughout the week as we have first Stewart results finalized. So make sure to join us in the Discord and join us in the Discord to participate in this race and different classes organized by Phoenix World Championship. 3 years strong and more to go. And using free airtime I have infinite amount of. Want to thank the entire Phoenix Racing Club for sticking with us for a long time. Thank Psychedelics in the booth for sticking with me from the very beginning and making sure this whole thing can run as smooth as humanly possible, despite Lord Kunos trying his best to stop us from doing so. And hopefully we'll keep growing, keep entertaining whoever is watching this, and hopefully keep progressing towards the bigger and better things.
Yep, I hope so too.
And on that note, thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, at Understop, this is goodbye.